Hi, my name is George Mumford, and I'd like to talk to you today a little bit about how to manage this stressful time that we happen to be in with the coronavirus and with the markets tanking, as well as being in the election cycle where some of us may have a candidate that may not be doing so well or has dropped out of the race. We really need to figure out how we can stay present to our experience in spite of the fact that there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of discomfort that we may experience because things have this impact on us where we might even be feeling overwhelmed or feeling challenged. And so the whole idea is just to be able to step back and be still and know, just to really focus on just being in our body and just breathing. And a lot of times when we're under stress, we don't breathe properly. And just by being able to breathe properly, we can actually reverse that stress cycle. The idea is to understand that we have a nervous system which is divided into the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. And the sympathetic nervous system is where a lot of folks tend to hang out when they're under stress, which is the fight, flight, or freeze. And it's the left brain, and it's everything's linear. And what we need to do is understand that the other part of that nervous system, or we could refer to that fight, flight, or freeze, or the accelerator, putting the pedal to the metal, keeping us in a high state of arousal and such. And the other side is the parasympathetic nervous system, which is referred to sometimes as the rest and digest or the relaxation response. And we can have access to that just by indirectly by how we direct our attention. And so when we're able to just focus on one thing or direct our attention on one thing and coming out of the silence and stillness so that we allow that part of the brain, the right brain, to kick in, where the left brain is when that's busy and when we're engaged and we're not focused and we're not focused on one thing, that has dominance and the right brain doesn't have a chance to get a word in edgewise. So when we can just be still and know, when we can just focus on like the body and the breath and just be with that, then we fall in or drop into that rest and digest relaxation response where we're able to be in growth mode so that we have better cognitive functioning so we can actually see things. We can actually create space between stimulus and response. And in that space, we have the freedom and power to choose. So I talk about the growth mindset where we're just focusing, we're in this relaxed receptivity, allowing things to speak to us. And so we start to deal with things in a way that's more balanced and more centered so that we can just notice, okay, whatever we need to do in terms of this this virus, this coronavirus, the thing we need to understand about that is that if we can stay in a rest and digest and just use common sense, we can enhance our immune functioning, which is one of the things we don't want to have happen is to be in the fight, flight, or freeze and having our immune function being handicapped. And so it's really important to just be able to relax and just to approach things in a way where we can create space, and in that space we can make wise choices. So it's really as simple as just being in the body, just breathing, and just allowing ourselves to just manage things, deal with things in a way where we're not reactive, we're responding. And so, and just thinking about how we manage our stress because it's a high stressful time. And we need to understand how to live more in the growth mode because on the cellular level, we're either in survival mode or growth mode. And so when we can be in the parasympathetic nervous system, we can just relax and just see things from a relaxed, receptive posture so that we can make informed choices so we can actually slow things down just by the practice of being still and knowing or just observing experience in a way. So how do we protect ourselves from uh, getting infected by the coronavirus? Virus? Well, of course, there's the CDC suggestions or recommendations, but even beyond that, just by being able to stay level-headed, being able to stay calm, we enhance our immune functioning, which we know from the coronavirus, that those who have an impacted immune system, like a pre-existing condition or elderly, they are more susceptible to not only having the disease but not being able to survive the disease. So just this idea of just being relaxed, it helps the nervous system, but it also helps the immune system to be more functioning, so that it'll be able to fight off things like colds and not only that, but also enhances our ability to make wise decisions, like understanding that one of the things we have to do is continue to wash our hands and not put our hands on our face or in our eyes, so that we really have to be mindful, be attentive to what we're touching, and making sure that we keep the sanitizer or washing our hands consistently, and even to the point where we have this habit of just greeting somebody and shaking their hand. And at this point in time, that's probably not something we want to do, especially if you're in the more susceptible to this virus, such as being elderly or having a pre-existing chronic disease. So the idea of just really being clear about how am I interacting with myself and others in a way that keeps me safe, that keeps them safe. So being able to just rest in the moment or be in a moment is helpful when you have a practice where you practice that, like a meditation practice or yoga practice or some other spiritual practice, even prayer. But when you're in daily life and you're on the go, we still have to have this ability to just tune into the body and just sit and breathe and just focus on the one thing. Just focus on, okay, I'm sitting and I can breathe in and breathe out. And just by sitting and just breathing in and breathing out, a few deeper in and out breaths with our eyes open, and being conscious of feeling ourselves as we're breathing in and breathing out, is enough to get us into that rest and digest, the relaxation response. So we have to have the thing where we're just doing the one thing, get in the habit of just doing this one thing. I'm listening, or I'm talking, or I'm just riding on the subway or the bus, or I'm driving in my car and I'm just driving, and sometimes just turning off the radio and just listening to ourselves, just being in silence, being still, can be helpful. So just this practice, just sitting and not moving, and just breathing in and breathing out using the belly breathing, it can be very helpful